If you remember back when we talked about the demotion of Pluto, I said that science was not a democracy. It's based on the facts. You don't have to like a particular theory. I don't like gravity. When I get up in the morning, I kind of wish gravity didn't exist and I could float out of bed. But that doesn't mean that gravity doesn't exist. Likewise, in the mid-20th century, 1950s and 60s, there were some scientists who were very uneasy about the concept of the Big Bang. They were very uneasy about the idea of the universe having a beginning. And unfortunately, some of the reasoning was pretty lousy. It had nothing to do with science. So there's a really interesting lesson here about the nature of science, when people let their personal belief systems get in the way of their science. And it's not what you're thinking. The scientists were not letting their religious beliefs get in the way of their science. In fact, they were letting their anti-religious beliefs. I'm talking about Fred Hoyle, Herman Bondi, and Tommy Gold. These were three scientists who came up with a hypothesis that they offered as a rival to the Big Bang, and they called this the steady state. In their model, the universe had no beginning. It has no end. So in their case, they're like, ha, don't need God. Again, God is not a scientific concept, completely out of the picture. Be that as it may. They thought this was a good thing. So in their universe, it has no beginning, it has no end. It doesn't change. Individual stars will be born and die, but other than that, things never change. One problem. The universe is expanding. They couldn't just wish away Hubble's law and the expansion of the universe. So as the universe is expanding and stuff is getting farther apart, the density, of course, is going to go down. So how do they get around that? They came up with this kind of ingenious idea that they were going to violate the laws of physics. Remember the idea that matter and energy must be conserved? You've heard that somewhere along the line in high school, I hope. Well, to get around that, they figured out that under very special conditions, you can get something from nothing. You can have spontaneous creation of matter. Now, not very much and not very often. But they hypothesized you wouldn't need a lot because the universe is very big and just randomly here and there a few hydrogen atoms here, a few hydrogen atoms there, and you could keep the density of the universe constant as it expands. Okay? We have two rival hypotheses. We have the Big Bang, we have the steady state. As much as I would have really loved to have seen a celebrity death match, cage match between George Gamow and Fred Hoyle. Oh, would I love to have seen that. That's not the way science works. Instead, they do battle in the marketplace of ideas and observations and experimentation. So what happened was people started looking for the spontaneous creation of matter that Fred Hoyle suggested. Didn't find it. Okay, well, the Big Bang itself made some predictions. Why don't we test them? Why don't we test the fact that if the universe started as a small, hot, dense state and has been expanding ever since, then there should be some leftover energy. Well, that is the cosmic microwave background radiation, which was discovered by accident in the 1960s by two engineers working for the telephone company, working for Bell Labs in New Jersey. That was sort of the death knell for the steady state. But what about some other predictions? Well, the Big Bang predicted that the universe should be about 3/4 hydrogen and 1/4 helium. That's what the universe is. It's not enough just to say, aha, steady state, you're wrong. We need evidence to show that the Big Bang is right. You can't just be the last idea standing because you've proven everybody else wrong. You really need to have some supporting data for yourself. So the Big Bang really jives well with the universe expanding because the universe starts as a small, hot, dense state and has been expanding ever since in the Big Bang. It explains why the universe is 3/4 hydrogen and 1/4 helium. George Gamow showed that the laws of nuclear physics would just come right out and say that when the universe was between 5 and 15 minutes old, that's the composition you would get. It predicts the cosmic microwave background, right? And so the Big Bang emerged the victor, not just because the steady state was shown to be wrong, but because the Big Bang could actually make predictions that could be observed. An interesting tidbit of information. George Gamow and George Lemaitre and the other scientists who worked on what became known as the Big Bang model didn't call it the Big Bang. It was sort of called the evolutionary model, something like that. The name Big Bang was actually coined by Fred Hoyle, one of the steady state people. He hated the Big Bang. Remember, as I said, he didn't like the idea of there being any room for a deity in science at all. Not that there really is room for a deity in science, a whole separate issue. But he thought that the Big Bang smacked of religion. And so he wanted to make as much fun of this model as he could, and he actually named it Big Bang as a pejorative, as a joke, like, that idea is stupid, this idea of a Big Bang making the universe. And that's the name that stuck. And Sky and Telescope magazine many years ago actually had a contest to come up with a better name for the Big Bang, and no one actually did. There was a Calvin and Hobbes a cartoon that called it the Big Fat Kablooey or something like that. But the name Big Bang has stuck. And it's really funny that Hoyle's joke actually became the name of our best explanation for the origin of the universe.